Yana. Say, Rusky and the beat.
Hello and welcome back. Today I will be making cinnamon balls. So I decided to actually make this recipe with the regular coconut flour from the store, and these here are my ingredients. I have 2 cups of almond flour, half a cup of coconut flour, 2 tablespoons, which is about a quarter cup of psyllium husk powder, 2 egg whites, cinnamon powder, 1 tablespoon of sweetener, 1 tablespoon of yeast, 1 tablespoon of xanthan gum, and salt. So I just add all my dry ingredients to the blender. I like blending it up first before I begin to use. So I add all the dry ingredients to the blender, food processor, and process it first. Once that is done, now I add in my cinnamon powder, which is about half a teaspoon, my butter, 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 egg whites, and I mix together. So now it's time to add water. I gradually add in my water because I didn't want it to be too thick, not too light. So I gradually add in my water so that as I'm adding in, I'm checking it until it gets to the texture that I want, which is something that we could mold, but not too light like my puff puff recipe. So I check it, it has not mixed properly. That is one of the reasons why I actually put this in the food processor, because I wanted to actually like blend down the almond flour and mix everything well. That is too thick, so I'm going to add in some more water. I think altogether I ended up using about almost half a cup of water, but it wasn't entirely half a cup, but almost half a cup of water was what I ended up using. So I'm just going to mold it. You see the texture is something you can easily handle. So I'm just going to shape. It's going to shape in the oil, but I prefer to shape mine ahead of time because it makes it easier for me when I'm frying it. I already had my oil on the stove. I test to see if it is hot, and then when I started adding in my balls, I found out that the oil was way too hot. If I had allowed it to continue cooking at this temperature, it would have ended up burnt. So what did I do? I just simply took the oil off of the stove for a while, because it would have just burnt, or it will make the dough not to rise to its full strength. So I took it off of the stove aside, allowed the oil to cool down a bit, and then after that I return it back to the stove to finish cooking. In case you're making it and you find out your oil is too hot, I'm showing this so that you know that sometimes it tends to happen. Your oil might be too hot. If you continue cooking it, it might get burned. which is what I have seen happen a lot, especially with things that has to do with puff puff kind of texture. So, isn't that looking beautiful? The thing looks so beautiful. So I used monk fruit, which is like the texture is like your normal sugar texture, mixed in some cinnamon powder. I'm going to use it to dust the balls. We don't really want it that much on it, just enough to just maybe coat it for fancy decoration. It's not really something to be like having all this sticky on it now. Just something on the skin, on the skin, and that's just about it. Okay guys, that is it for our cinnamon balls.
Yana, say, Rusky and beat.